Hi, I'm Steve Andriole. I'm here to talk very briefly with you about measuring global fintech readiness. And you'll get a sense very quickly why we regard this at Villanova University as an important research area. Let's start with a definition. So, fintech includes any technological innovation in the financial sector, including innovations in financial literacy and education. Most importantly, it includes attention paid and investments made in cryptocurrency, blockchain, smart contracts, open banking, insurtech, regtech, robo-advisors, and cybersecurity, among some other areas. So when we're talking about fintech, we're talking about these technologies, we're talking about fintech readiness, we're talking about the readiness that countries have through the corporations that exist in the countries to implement those technologies in the global digital economy. Some assumptions from the beginning. Fintech is necessary for participation in the global digital economy. So we're making that assumption from the beginning. We're also making the assumption that some countries will fall well behind because their digital infrastructures are weak and their fintech adoption is too slow. Third assumption, we can identify fintech leaders and laggards, suggesting strategies to improve readiness and thereby improve the efficiency of the entire global digital economy. We see this breaking down to three steps. Our research focuses on these three steps. Step one, track digital readiness. And again, here we're talking about tracking the infrastructure, broadband, cloud, big data. I'll show you some indicators in a moment. Fintech obviously requires a modern digital infrastructure. Step two, must also pilot and adopt fintech technologies, distributed ledger technology, blockchain, AI, smart contracts, regtech, insurtech, and so forth, that run on ready digital infrastructures. Three, we can track technology maturity and readiness and identify fintech ready countries, as well as countries that need some help. Huawei's developed a set of indicators, which is kind of interesting in terms of infrastructure readiness. And you can see across the four pillars and the five enablers, supply, demand, experience, potential. And you can see left side fundamentals, broadband, data centers, cloud, big data, Internet of Things, IoT. The idea is that there are indicators that will give us insight into how well countries are performing across these areas. So something simple like the number and percentage of computer households, for example. If you see it's very low, then there's low readiness. But it's a collection of 40 indicators. You can also get a global sense of how this is kind of distributing itself with starters, adopters, and front runners. Some of the more obvious front runners appear the darkest. Some of the starters just getting started in this area are the lightest. You can see trajectories, which is kind of interesting as well. And as you can see, we rely on a lot of third-party data. We collect a lot of it, we integrate a lot of it. We're trying to bring it all together so we can build an inference engine, which I'll talk about in a moment. Fintech adoption example, in this case it's blockchain. What we also track is the ability of countries, in this case, to use distributed ledger technology, otherwise known as blockchain, to achieve these results: financial products and services, decentralized asset management, identity and persona management, governance and law, economic and social structures. But we do this for all of the fintech technologies, not just blockchain. So again, what we're tracking is infrastructure readiness and then fintech adoption. This is sort of the overarching picture where we'd like to go with this research. We're trying to get, look on the left, digital infrastructure maturity, some measures of that, and measures of fintech adoption, which leads to overall fintech readiness. That goes into an inference engine. So if a country has achieved a certain level with infrastructure and a certain level with fintech adoption, then there's some guidance which we can infer. Either it's transaction ready or there's a need for awareness and lots more investments. That's the essence of this. The inference engine is not a terribly intelligent one. We're not talking about a very deep learning based model but rather just simply collecting the data and making inferences about where a particular country or region is in terms of its overall fintech readiness, and therefore its ability to participate in the global digital economy. Conclusions. I promised I wouldn't take much of your time. Conclusions. Fintech is necessary for participation in the global digital economy. You can't fake this. You've actually got to have the capabilities. Some countries, however, will fall behind because 1, their digital infrastructures are weak, and 2, their fintech adoption is slow. Fintech maturity will therefore vary widely across countries and regions. We're already seeing this. We really should track fintech readiness with inference models fed by primary, which we're collecting, as well as third-party data that enable readiness scoring and guidance to assure full participation in the global digital economy, which benefits all countries and regions, clearly. That's it. Wanted to bring you up to speed on some research that we're doing, some data we're collecting, and ideally a system that will run on its own that will simply tell us with a simple request which countries are doing the best, which countries are doing poorly, what kind of investments are necessary, what happens next. If you're interested in following this research or you have some questions or comments you'd like to make, you can see my contact information is right there. And there is a paper that I'll be published in the proceedings as well. But this is a very short version of that. Thank you so much. Have a great conference.